right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Bet the Birds. It's playoff edition with Eliot, Shorr-Parks, and me, Maniac, Malloy. Eliot, what the heck is going on with the Philadelphia Eagles right now?
Nothing good. I've covered this team for a while now, and I've never felt this level of collapse. I've never felt this level of frustration from the fans. I've never sensed going into the playoffs less people believing in this team, both frankly from the fans and, sometimes the energy I get from the players is that they know they have a lot to change if they want to win in the playoffs. So I can't believe they lost that Giants game. Can't believe they lost the Cardinals game. But we'll see if they can beat the Buccaneers. If there's one team you wanted to play in the playoffs, it's the Bucs.
That's true. But just to go back 1 week, for me, I can't believe they quit. They really just quit on Nick Sirianni. They quit on the possibility of maybe getting the 2 seed. That's the most alarming and the most concerning thing that you don't really see often in the NFL. Is teams just really roll over and quit like they did.
So watching it live, I agree. Like when I was at MetLife Stadium, it felt to me like a team that didn't show up. It felt to me like a team that was ready to come out of the game. But if you want to go a glass half full, and I don't think it's that crazy to say, I mean, that stadium, players get seriously injured there. Unfortunately, you saw Sidney Brown suffer that injury. I don't think the players honestly believed Dallas was going to lose to Washington. So I kind of think they showed up. Fletcher was a healthy scratch, basically. Swift was feeling sick, didn't play him, didn't play Devontae, didn't play Slay. I know their word said they wanted to play good in that game, but just watching them, because you're right, it did not look like a team that wanted to play hard. It didn't look like a team that wanted to win that game. So I just wonder how much of that was they went into that not feeling they were going to give their all because of the situation and the small chance they get the 2 seed. But when you lose to the Cardinals, you play poorly against the Giants, and you lose to Seattle, like, it's hard to give them the benefit of the doubt on anything. So I agree. I think one of the biggest concerns for me heading into this game is what team is going to show up. Like, I can paint you a picture of why they'll win, but are they going to show up on Monday night and say, if they fall behind 7-0, just quit? I don't know. Like, this is a very unpredictable team right now, or the scariest part might be it's extremely predictable how they're going to act.
Well, let me ask you this. Would you rather them win this week and get blown out next week? Because that's kind of where it's trending, possibly.
I don't know if
it is to lose right now and get this season over.
Yeah, I think that's a defeatist attitude. Look, this team is not playing well, no question about it. But they have talent. Like, I know that it looks bad right now. A.J. Brown's hurt, but A.J. Brown's a great receiver. Devontae's a great receiver. Jalen's a great quarterback. They have a great offensive line. They have a Pro Bowl running back. Like, they have who should be a Pro Bowl tight end in Dallas Goedert. Like, they have all the pieces to make a run. So I understand right now wanting this team to lose. It's frustrating. I'm sure people are ready for the offseason. If you want Nick gone, you probably want the head coach search to begin. But this team can make a run. Like, if LA beats Detroit or Dallas does what they do and lose in the playoffs, the Eagles could be hosting a playoff game in the second round. So I understand the frustration. They are not a fun team to watch, and they're disappointing. This is one of the most anticipated Eagles seasons in a long time, and it's ending in a bad way. But they still have that talent, and I think the playoffs could be a fresh start for them. So I don't think fans should be rooting for them to lose. You hope they win that game. And then next week you see what happens. Maybe Brock Purdy gets hurt in the first series like he did last year. Maybe the other team just completely no-shows. Like, if you're in the playoffs, you have a chance. And I don't think Eagles fans should just wash that chance away.
I like how we're doing this here. We're going to get to the pick at the end here. We'll get the questions out of the way. Yeah. A little playoff edition. We'll do this episode a little ass backwards. Why not?
Got to change
Nick
something.
Sirianni. You mentioned, if you want him fired. I, for one, do not. I don't want to see the Philadelphia Eagles relieve Nick of his duties as the head coach. But what do you make of this currently with all the chatter that he possibly could be getting let go? He should get fired. Some people are calling for his head. What do you make of Sirianni and his job security right now?
Well, let me start by saying Nick Sirianni does not deserve to be on the hot seat. Nick Sirianni is going to be in the playoffs for the 3rd straight year. He won twice as many games as he lost this year, right around there. He ended up with double-digit wins. He was really close to winning the division. And ultimately, this offense, I know it frustrates people. They are a top 10 offense in the league. They're probably top 5. And that's what Nick's supposed to do. I believe Jalen hasn't played great. I think the offensive line has let him down in some ways in terms of blitz protection and protecting Jalen. Ultimately, I think Nick has done enough to keep his job this year. But do I think he'll keep his job? The one thing I think could hurt Nick is he's not been great in situational football this year. Time management, the stuff like that, like time management, using timeouts, decisions he makes on fourth down, like when he goes for a field goal, when he goes for it, managing end of games, end of halves. If you're not going to call plays, you have to be great in that situation. And I think too many times this year we've watched those games and they've been sloppy in that area of football. And on top of that, Jeffrey hired Nick to call plays. Like when he was hired, he was a play caller. He was not that after halfway through his first season. So if Nick is fired, I don't think it'll be because the offense is stale or anything like that. I think it'll be because of the situational decisions and because of the fact that he's not the play caller, or at least they feel they need a new offensive mind as head of the team. But I don't believe Nick deserves to be fired. I think he deserves the right, if he wants to see this out and try to fix it next year.
I mean, besides that too, his job is to get these guys ready and get them to play for him. What are your thoughts on him possibly losing the locker room? Is that a cause for concern?
Yeah. I don't believe Nick has lost the locker room. I think the players like Nick. I think they play hard for him. They did not last week for sure, but while they lost the game to the Cardinals and they almost blew it against the Giants, they came out and played hard for him. They were up big against Seattle. They were up big against the Giants. They were up big against the Cardinals. Now they're blowing it late in games, and for sure that is a knock on Nick and the players. But I still think this team is playing hard. I still think Nick that they have the support of the locker room, and I think they do still like Nick. So I don't buy into that. I don't talk to any players that say they don't like Nick. I'm around the players quite a bit. I don't sense that they're lying when they say that they like Nick. So I don't think Nick has lost the locker room at all. No.
So what is going on with the locker room then? We have Fletcher Cox coming up and saying things. Brandon Graham's mentioning things. What is going on inside of that locker room?
In my 12 years covering this team, I've never seen a group of players so willing to talk about locker room issues, right? Normally they're hidden. And I'll say this, if we're hearing it's bad, it's probably way worse than we think it is. To me, I view this as a problem and a product of coming off the Super Bowl loss. I know people don't want to hear that. People think it's an excuse. But there's a reason only 31% of teams that lose the Super Bowl make the playoffs in next year. There's a reason no team in the NFC has gone back to the Super Bowl after losing it in over 40 years. It is really, really hard to do for a lot of reasons. But one of those reasons is I do think when you're coming off that loss, the next season is not fun. All year is about making the Super Bowl. All year is about the expectations of getting there. All year is about how you lost it. So I don't think the Eagles have bad guys in their locker room. I don't think this is when the locker room was in really bad straits, when DeMarco Murray was there and stuff like that. I think they are a good group of guys in that locker room. I think they just need to get away. I think this team needs to get away for a few months, reconvene in August, and I think they're a good enough team. Unfortunately, they have a playoff game on Monday, so they're not getting away. They might not get away for another few weeks. But I think the locker room issues are much more about fatigue and expectations and pressure than it is about any one guy or any issue with Sirianni.
All right, that makes me feel a little better. Maybe we can.
We'll see how you feel on Monday.
We'll see how we feel on Tuesday. All right, so before we get to the pick, we know now Nick might be on the hot seat, may be on the hot seat, may not be. We got some guys getting fired already now in the NFL.
Right.
What coordinators should the Philadelphia Eagles take a look at for next season? Possibly that are available now even.
If the Eagles fire Sirianni, and I would not, but if they fire Sirianni, you have got to go for a young offensive mind that calls plays. That's it. That's what wins in the NFL. Shout out to the coaches that have been here for 15 plus years doing it. That's a different game. You have to go after someone that is going to call the plays, run the offense, and help Jalen. That's what you need. Sirianni does a lot of great things, but I'm in him being a locker room guy is great. And he does, I think, motivate these guys. I need someone that calls plays. When they hired Nick, it was to call plays. So when I look at the coordinators around the league, Ben Johnson out of Detroit. I'd have a ton of interest in him. I know he doesn't call the plays in Miami, but I have interest in Frank Smith and getting someone under that Mike McDaniel tree and bringing him to Philadelphia and having him call plays. Like, those are the two names I would look at right now. I would have 0.00000 interest in Bill Belichick. I do not want him on the Eagles. I do not think he would be a good fit. I have zero interest in a 71-year-old defensive mind. Like, no interest whatsoever. So I think Lurie will go young. I think he'll go offense, and I don't think he'll go defense, and I don't think he'll go Bill Belichick.
Okay, how about coordinators if Sirianni's back? I know we're getting in the weeds here. Do you have anybody in mind to take that?
Yeah, I know exactly who the coordinator will be. It'll be Brian Johnson. If you look around, Brian Johnson is getting head coaching interviews for a reason. If the Eagles fired Brian Johnson today, he would get an offensive coordinator job with another team. Like, I know people are mad at the offense and it's easy to point fingers at Brian Johnson. They have been almost as good of an offense this year, facing tougher defenses and tougher opponents as they were last year, right? Like, the offense moves the ball. The offense gets the ball down the field and into the red zone. The issue has been twofold with the offense. One, they turned the ball over. That's not on Brian Johnson. And two, they've struggled in the red zone. That is, like, they have to be better in the red zone. And that is an issue against Tampa Bay. But ultimately, Brian Johnson does not deserve to be fired. And if Nick Sirianni is back, I would be pretty surprised if he has a different offensive coordinator.
I like that. Okay, I can buy that. I can get down with giving Brian Johnson another, chance at.
And the other thing I would say is everyone wants Brian Johnson gone. Like, everyone wanted Jonathan Gannon gone too. Changeover on the staff is not a good thing. Like, you want to have the same staff. You want guys that have experience. Gannon, everyone's like, when he got the interviews, oh, I'm so happy he's getting an interview. I'll drive him to the airport. We need this guy gone. Well, how have things played out since? Their coordinators have not worked out. People want Brian Johnson gone. It's not going to be easy to replace Brian Johnson. Like, he now has a year of experience with Jalen. He now has a year of experience in play calling. He has 2 years or multiple years of experience in the building with this team. Like, they need continuity at one point. So ultimately, I think everyone that wants Brian Johnson gone, be careful what you wish for, because turnover on staff is hard, and the Eagles have found that out this year.
Well, I will say this, though. I can buy that. But the defensive side of the ball.
Well, that's it. Yeah.
Come on. That's something we do. We're going to be shopping around for somebody. Any name come to mind?
Yeah, I really like Al Harris, the defensive backs coach out of Dallas. Obviously a former Eagle. He's done really good work there in Dallas with their secondary. He knows Philadelphia. He knows the market. He knows the expectation here. He knows what he's walking into. A young up-and-coming coach. I think they need help in the secondary, especially if they're going to move on from Bradbury and Slay. Keely Ringo is going to need mentoring, obviously, from a coaching perspective. Eli Ricks, maybe they draft a corner high in this year's draft. So I do think Al Harris is someone that I would have interest in. And I think on the defensive side of the ball, you're going to have to get a new coordinator. Like, you can't bring Patricia back. Obviously, you're not keeping Desai. So you're going to have a ton of turnover there. There's nothing you can do on that side of the ball in terms of preventing turnover. But yeah, Al Harris is certainly someone I'd have interest in. And aren't these always the thing playoff teams are talking about heading into the postseason? New coordinators, new coaches. Yeah, so things are going well.
Heads are falling off.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, what a thing. This is Philadelphia. This is Phil. And then my next question is, like, I was trying to think about it in terms of the defense. Who are you bringing back from this defense out of the 11 starters?
Yeah, I mean, I think Bradbury could be gone. I think Slay could be gone. I think Reddick could be gone. Fletcher Cox is a free agent. Both the linebackers are free agents and could be gone. Kevin Byard, pretty much a free agent. He'll probably be gone. Reed Blankenship, I think, is probably back. Like I said, Keely, Eli Ricks are probably back. Obviously, Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith. Jordan Davis. But yeah, I mean, I think Brandon Graham will be back. But yeah, there's going to be, I mean, they could have 8 or 9 new starters on defense next year, but they need it. Like, they need, the defense is not playing at a high level. I think Slay is still a good player. I think Bradbury obviously took a step back this year, but the defense, they're almost 2 different teams right now. The offense, little things are preventing the offense from being good. Turnovers, not that they're a little thing, but turnovers, penalties, sloppy play. Like, they have the talent and the scheme to win on offense. On defense, they're just they need a complete rebuild over there.
They couldn't stop the Mount Carmel Romans, and
who can though? Who can?
Yeah, who can? Once a Roman, always a Roman. All right, Eliot. Well, we're getting to the point in the show that I love the most, and I really, truly hope this is not the last time we do this season, but you know the question I'm going to ask you. The Philadelphia Eagles, they travel to take on the Tampa Bay Bucs on Monday Night Football. The spread right now on the BetParks app is -2.5. It's 3. Excuse me. The spread is -3. The Birds are 3-point favorites going down to Tampa. Who you got, Eliot?
So I think in times of adversity and at times where you're not sure what to do, you just double down on what you believe in. That's what the great ones say, right? How many times have we done this now? 18 times. I believe in offensive line, defensive line, and quarterback. And they're better at all three than the Tampa Bay is. They just are. I know they're not playing great, but they have a better offensive line. They have a better quarterback, and they have a better defensive line. I do think there is a little bit to this team coasting over the last month. I just do. And I think if they can get a good start against Tampa on Monday night, they'll have that confidence back. Look, does this team deserve to have people believe in them? Not as much as before. They've blown it over the last month. But there's still a team that has gone to the playoffs and won games. There's still a team that's been one of the best teams in the NFL over the last 2 years. Tampa hasn't been any of those things. Tampa doesn't have a good offense. They don't have a good defense. They don't have a great quarterback. They don't have a great head coach. They're just not a great team. In a must-win game last week, they scored 9 points against the worst team in the NFL. So when I look at this game, I'm afraid of it. Like, I definitely think, I don't know what group of people will show up on Monday night, but I know that more talent is on the Eagles side. And so I will take the Eagles -3. And I also will say, one thing I've learned in doing this with you, like, that's an Eagles line. Like, if you just want to read the book, like, that is an Eagles line. They want you to bet Tampa. They want people to look at that and go, yeah, oh, the Eagles are playing terrible. Vegas isn't wrong often, right? Two things in life. You're not wrong often, and Vegas isn't wrong often. And it's an Eagles line. So I'm going to take the Eagles -3 to win on Monday.
One more week. More week.
And then who knows what happens? Maybe we're home next week. Maybe they're going to Dallas or Detroit. Like, it's not a guarantee you're going to San Francisco. So if this team can get momentum going, if they can go to Tampa, God forbid they actually play well for 4 quarters. If they win this game like 28-10, then people are going to be back in. But that's really all it takes. Like, they just need to believe again. They just need to believe again. Yeah.
A little crumb.
Exactly right. Just a little crumb. Yeah.
That's all we need. No, but the last thing I'll say, I made an Instagram reel a week ago detailing out like what I want to happen or what I could see happening. And, you know, even if the Rams upset the Lions, which I think is very, very possible.
I agree.
Then you're going down to Dallas. And if Dallas, you know, carries their water and beats the Packers, and that's not a guarantee either. But I kind of could see that being the case.
I think the best outcome for the Eagles would be going to Detroit, because Detroit's Super Bowl is this week. They haven't won a playoff game in forever. They're playing Matthew Stafford. It's going to be an extremely emotionally charged game. They win that game. I think you get them next week, like prime position for an upset. Going to Dallas would certainly be tough. The Eagles have struggled there. We all have seen that over the years. But who knows? Second time, you know, in 6 or 7 weeks or whatever it would be. Maybe you have some advantage there. And here's the ultimate glass half full look. If you're going to get San Francisco, the best time to get them is coming off that bye in the first round. Teams that are the 1 seed do not play well coming off of that bye. McCaffrey is dealing with an injury. Maybe he hasn't played in a few weeks. So if the Eagles can win on Monday, I really think like that second week that things could break their way where all of a sudden fans will believe again, and the players themselves too.
I love it. Well, before I get to your same game parlay for the game on Monday night, injuries going into the game. I think today we've heard now that Devontae Smith is fine. He's going to play. Slay announced on Instagram he's going to play as well. A.J. Brown, what's his status? What are we thinking for Monday?
I'm worried about A.J. Brown. I think he's going to do everything he can to play. I think he is certainly somebody that wants to be out there for the team, but that's a bad injury he got. He wasn't out of practice today on Thursday. He wasn't in the locker room. Tomorrow will be a big day. Like, even just seeing him, like, I'd even see him at the NovaCare today. I'm sure he was there, but normally players that are pretty injured, you don't see just wandering around. So I'm worried about AJ. Even if he can play, how much can he play? How will his knee respond to being out there? So AJ's a worry. Devontae is going to play, like you said. Slay is going to play. Jalen, I think, will play. I think, the finger injury is bothering him, but I think he'll be out there. and I think he'll play. So the real concern would be AJ Brown heading into this one.
Yeah, that I didn't even mention, Hurts and his status with the finger. I mean, I'm just assuming he'll
play. He'll play.
There. I think he's gonna be out there. All right, so give me a same game parlay for Monday night against the Bucs, Eliot, and I'll let you get out of here.
All right, so as I said, I'm taking the Eagles. So it is what it is. I'm taking the Eagles to win the game, and who wants to bet on Tampa Bay in this game? So I'm gonna go Eagles -3. I'm going to go DeAndre Swift touchdown score. I kind of like first touchdown score, but I'll just go with anytime touchdown. He had an outstanding game against the Bucs last time. They ran the ball really well against the Bucs. I think they're going to want to come out and run the ball again, if only to keep their defense off the field, but especially because I think they can run on them. So I think DeAndre Swift finds his way into the end zone. And I'm going to go on the over with points. I know you could look at this and say the Bucs have a great red zone defense. Maybe the Eagles don't score as much. Eagles offense has struggled recently, but I think the offense is going to come out fired up, and I think the Eagles defense is going to struggle against this Tampa Bay defense. So I believe the over-under is about 43.5 or around there. I'm going to go on the over with that. So over for the game, Eagles -3, DeAndre Swift touchdown score, plus 500. Go make some money and celebrate on Tuesday.
I love it. All right, Eliot, that is Bet the Birds playoff edition, super wild card weekend edition in the books. Covered a lot of stuff, man. You're doing a wonderful job with everything you're doing, WIP.
I think we got one more. We got at least one more game in us. So we'll be doing this next week. Come
on, baby. I like it. One more week. One more week. All right, Eliot. Always a pleasure working with you. And I will see you next week. Okay?
Yeah, this isn't goodbye. You're acting like this is goodbye.
I know.
I will talk to you next week to preview the next Eagles playoff game.
I love it. All right, man. Great show, and we'll talk to you next week.